Today my guest is Gerry Whelan. Gerry's the CEO of Archer Glass in Brisbane and joins us today to talk to us about safety glass. Gerry, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Wayne.
Now, Gerry, we've talked before about safety glass, and I understand that it's critically important in preventing injuries. And not too long ago, I heard there was an Australian injured in, I think, Bali, where he'd fallen through a shop window and cut an artery. Now, this, I gather, is what safety glass stops happening.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's about. Human impact. That if there's a danger that somebody could mistake it for a walkway and walk through it, it should be safety glass. And with the Australian Glazing Code, that is how it is, that we've got to put safety glass in those situations.
Now, are there different types of safety glass, or is it all the same thing?
Yeah, we have a grade B safety glass, which is the older wired type glass. We have two types of grade A safety glass, which is laminated safety glass and toughened safety glass. I have a sample of the laminated safety glass here, which is a grade A safety glass. And hopefully you can see on the camera there how it breaks like your front car windscreen maybe, but it holds together, it doesn't fall out. So if somebody did walk into it, there's a good chance that it'll hold them back, and certainly they won't be cut or injured. The old wire glass everybody saw before, it just cracks and breaks, but the wire held it together, which is a grade B safety glass. And it's still used quite extensively. And it does do quite a good job, but it is a grade B safety glass. The other safety glass is toughened safety glass, which I have some here in broken pieces. You can see it shatters into tiny pieces. You can see each little piece within that, as it falls down, would just come apart and fall away and not cause a major injury, although it could cause little scratches. But it's safe to walk into, break. It doesn't break in those large shards with sharp edges that cause these type of cuts that you talked about and injuries. And
Now, if we take them one at a time, the wired safety glass, that wire is actually manufactured inside the glass, is it?
It is, yes. It's like an old, like chicken wire type thing was one, and then there was that square-like one, which has the little squares, and it's embedded within the glass, and it holds the glass together. It was used a lot in louvers, factories, places like that, those kind of situations, but it doesn't look very attractive, so that's why it was held to those industrial type areas and was replaced with the laminated.
Now, the other two types of glass, you mentioned the laminated and the toughened, was it? Now, they just look like ordinary glass.
They do. You can just look straight through. You can't see the difference in them until it actually breaks. The laminated is the two sheets of glass laminated together with a clear sheet of like polythene type interlayer in the middle. And it's this sheet then that holds the glass together once it breaks.
Now, Gerry, when they manufacture that, do they have to manufacture it to size? Like, can you cut that glass once it's made?
The laminated, we buy and carry in stock sheets, and we cut it to each job. It has to be cut on both sides, but it's cut normally in the factory here for use on the jobs. But the toughened, on the other hand, is cut first and then put through the toughening process, which is a kiln that it's put through, brought up to a high temperature and then cooled down quickly. And this causes that toughening to take place in that it won't break in shards afterwards. But once it's been toughened, it can't be worked anymore.
I see. Now, why would you use one rather than the other?
You might use the toughened safety glass where it's out in the full sun and it can take heat better. It won't crack in the heat. And in shower screens, it's lighter, etc. But we tend to use laminated mostly now in all situations, unless we're going to put a film on it, which would trap the heat of the sun and cause the laminated to crack. Whereas the toughened will stand up to the heat, even with the film on it. It absorbs the heat, but doesn't break. So we're able to use in those situations.
There's more to safety glass than meets the eye, if you'll forgive the pun.
Yeah, there are a few things that you need to know where you can use different ones in different ways for safety.
Now, with the laminated glass, you were saying you can cut that from stock sheets in your factory. The lamination that's in that, does it last a lifetime? Is there any issue with the life of glass, given that it's got a plastic lamination in the middle of it?
No, it lasts a long time. There are situations in shower screens where if the water gets in around the edge, past the frame and past the rubber seal, after several years, 15, 20 years, you might get some edge creep where the edge starts to break down. Or if you use the laminated, say, in a frameless situation externally, the same with the weather can happen. The laminate starts to break down around the edges. That's why in those situations, again, toughened would be used to avoid that and get that lifetime warranty in place.
And Gerry, is there a price difference between the two types of glass?
A very slight price difference. It's not huge, and it depends then on thicknesses and other processes that are used. Like, for instance, in some of the frameless glass, then holes need to be drilled too for fitting brackets to hold it in place, etc. So that it adds to the price there. Whereas laminated would be most likely just clamped or fully framed.
I see.
And cut the price a bit on that. But the products themselves, a bit of a difference between them, toing and froing, but not huge.
And with the toughened safety glass, Gerry, once that's been toughened and it can't be worked anymore, does that mean that you can't then put holes in it? You need to put the holes in before you toughen it?
Yes, the full process is done. Holes drilled, edges polished, cut to size, etc. All done, and then it goes through its toughening process.
And is that a long process? Does it take a long time to get a sheet of glass toughened?
Toughening without drilling or without edge work is normally 2 to 3 working days. Then depends on how much work is involved, how many holes drilled, shapes, etc. Might be 5 to 7 working days.
All right. So it's still quite quick then?
It's still quite quick, yeah.
I understand that there is a risk if you have a commercial property or a rental property that doesn't have safety glass to meet the standard, that you may be liable.
Yes, it's incumbent upon the owner of the building to provide a safe and to code building for their tenants. And if something happens, then yes, the owner can be held liable for an injury.
Is it easy to tell if glass is safety glass or not? Is it something that you can do as a novice, or do you require a glazier to help you out with that?
You would require somebody who's certified to check the building and check the glass. And then, of course, we provide that service. But then, of course, we provide you with a certificate to say that your glass does comply. Or if some doesn't, we will quote to replace what isn't and to be brought up to code. And then, obviously, people might decide to get some other quotes as well following that.
And I presume, given that this can be a life-threatening circumstance, I presume that insurance is not going to help you out. If you're not in a compliant building, I doubt your insurance would cover you.
I doubt it too. I wouldn't know for certain, but I think people would need to check that they're covered if it's found to be not to code and maybe they weren't aware, but then maybe it's their responsibility also to make themselves aware.
Yes.
Have it checked.
I can understand how it would certainly be concerning if you've got a rental property or a house you're about to rent, that it's worth the effort to get it checked before you run the risk of becoming liable.
Yeah, for peace of mind, at least. If a family move in with young children, etc., at least you have peace of mind to know that you've provided everything you should have and that they should be safe.
Yes. Gerry, thank you for being with us today. Let me just see if I can recap. We've talked about safety glass, we have wire reinforced glass, we have laminated glass, and we have toughened glass. these are all required in different circumstances according to the kind of building they're going to be used in to avoid liability that arises from having a non-compliant building.
Yes, that's correct. It has to be glazed to the Australian Code AS1288 2006.
Gerry Whelan of Archer Glass in Brisbane, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you, Wayne. Talk soon.